Hi, I'm Julie Lubinsky, Web Manager for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. I'd like to welcome you all to this month's edition of Chatting Live with Dr. Dan. And Dr. Dan will be talking about transition today. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Dr. Dan is a practicing psychologist and therapist with more than 40 years of experience. He's best known as the host of Voices in the Family, heard on HYY-FM, Philadelphia's NPR affiliate, and he also is the author of 6 books. And he is also on our online community in Dr. Dan on Wellbeing. That's his discussion forum. And you can reach him there at christopherreeve.org/Dr. Dan. So please join our community, and any questions that come up later on, you may ask him there, and he goes on every Wednesday and answers those questions for you. So now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Dan. Hi, Dan.
Thank you, Julie. And welcome, everybody. Like I said in the chat room down there, please join us in this conversation. It doesn't work without you. So I'd like to hear about transitions in your life, or maybe the transition you're going through now, whether you are looking forward to it or whether it is or was painful. So please join us. I'd love to hear your voice, whether it's voice or typed.
Yeah, Dan, you said this discussion was on transition because you're celebrating your birthday this month, so happy birthday to you. And why did you want to talk about transitions?
Well, partly because of my birthday and its meaning to me, and partly because of what I've been hearing in my office, and that is, all sorts of transitions. Hold on. All sorts of transitions. People retiring, and having a great deal of difficulty with that. People losing their jobs, children going to school, or even transition around having a child. Getting married is a transition. Even a birthday or the anniversary of my accident, and I'm sure for many of us, is a transition. We begin to shift. When we look back, and the view back is longer than it grows longer every year. So there's all sorts of transitions, and of course, birthdays and anniversaries and things like that. But let me come back to your question, Joel. About the significance of my birthday. So, last year I was 69 years old, and I'm good with that. This year is a 0 birthday, and I'll turn 70 next week. And for some reason, it's a significant transition to me. I know the research that, up until from 55 to 75 tend to be the happiest years of our lives. But I know the research with quadriplegics, and the body, my body, is starting to show its wear and tear. To me, it means, it's time to take better care of my body, to rest more, to sleep more, those things. And that's, to me, it's just a very significant transition. And Julie, I gave myself a birthday present yesterday, and I went to an audiologist. Isn't that festive?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the audiologist said, well, you don't need a hearing aid. He said, probably next year. So I was thrilled about that. But that's what happens, The hearing starts to go. And things like that. So I am feeling my age. So how do we make the transition from A to B? How do I live differently or the same as a 70-year-old man, not given everything it means to me? So that's why I wanted to talk about it, all of us. I mean, my God, everybody who's listening right now has been through a significant transition by virtue of the accident, the disability, or not, whether you are, living with the disability or, or have a loved one. So I wanted to talk about transitions today and how we cope with them, how we can cope better with them, how they can be less painful, or can they be? So, Julie?
Yeah, I'm here.
Tell me about transitions in your life.
I find transitions, I'll go on a much smaller level, and sometimes I equate transition with worries or points of anxiety, and I don't like to, because I don't think transition is a bad word, but like if during the day, if I'm running late, there's a transition to my next appointment. Or like my daughter didn't make, a softball team, so that's that transition. Okay, now how am I going to handle it? What are we going to do for the, the next couple months? So that's how I'm viewing transitions. But that's also, I think, the way I look at things too, very granular.
Yeah. So what you're describing is transitions are associated with anxiety.
Yes.
Or discomfort. There's a great line in a poem that says, fear is the friction in transitions. And, transitions don't go smoothly or easily, but, it's about fear often. It's our wishing, I quote the great philosopher of the last century, of the 60s and 70s. And the great philosopher said, yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. So, they were really right on there. So when we have these transitions that are uncomfortable, we just wish we had what we had, have what we had yesterday. And that's the source of all the pain, is wishing for something different than what is. So I want to say something to everyone listening. First of all, there's a gentleman there from out of the country named Amin, and if you could just send a message about why you're here, why you've joined us, and what we can do for you. On this poll, one person said it's moving from one set of actions to a different set of actions. And the other said is a state of change, adapting to a whole new life, an unknown life that is challenging or may be challenging. So I'd love to hear about transitions in your life and what they mean to you. I guess my biggest transition in life, well, when my children were born, that changed my life radically. And my accident even more so than my marriage. you know, everybody knows what happens. You know, you are walking down the sidewalk, and literally, and all of a sudden there's no sidewalk. There's no sidewalk, and you are in free fall. So the question is, who am I now? What am I now? I know who I was. I know who I was. So, Joel?
Yes.
Not getting a lot of participants.
No, and if anybody's participating on the phone, I want to remind you that you can dial 01 on your telephone keypad, and the operator will put you through, so you can speak to us. So I'll give you a chance to do that. And Ingrid, if anybody has any audio questions, just put them right through. It's fine. If not, you can ask a question in the chat box by typing in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. Again, this is for you guys. So,
to ask an audio question, please press star then the number 1 on your telephone keypad.
Thank you.
So I've got one person who said, my transition, which was the hardest, was becoming a widow. So I urge all of you who commented on the poll to please give us details in the chat box or call us, because I would love to have a conversation with you. I'm trying to get the other poll up.
So you see the second poll up, so if everybody could answer that as well. And if anybody wants to join us on the phone, dial star 1, press star 1. We'll put you through, or please type in a question in the chat box. Don't make me answer all of his questions.
So I can answer that question. How have I coped with transition? Pretty poorly at first. But now I think I'm getting better at it because of, I've had 36 years of experience. And practice makes perfect. So there's just been so many. And there's something to be said about that. It's like when you've been knocked down 100 times, you're less afraid of being knocked down. You can get up. So we've got a comment here. Elizabeth Kane says, having friends to talk to and reading articles on the internet helped me through grief. Well, that's great. Yeah, and that's one of the things that does help us through. And by the way, Elaine, you talked about grief. And almost all loss is a kind of death that we mourn over. And until we do, we can't find a way to live with it. And yes, being surrounded by people helps us through anything, through kindred spirits, helps us through anything. And, with these kinds of transitions, Elizabeth, or the kind surrounding a disability, we need kindred spirits who care for us, who can hold us, literally or metaphorically, until we can feel safe again. Not whole, but kind of safe. And then the growth begins. And, some people go through the death of a loved one, and the pain goes on forever. And for many, most of us, in my sister died. I can still feel the pain today, but I don't feel that kind of anguish I felt in the beginning. And Elizabeth, I wish the same for you. So we've got Jamie here, and I hope that was helpful, Elizabeth. If you want to hear any more, or send me further details. So Jamie, who said that my hardest transition was becoming a mother and getting injured shortly thereafter. And on top of that, losing my dad. Yeah, that certainly is. And Jamie, I wonder how long that has been. When did that happen? And could you please tell us how you were then and how you are now? It's interesting. And say that, and I'll be able to answer more specifically. Thanks, Jamie. So Jamie said that all of this happened a year and a half ago. And we all know that a year and a half is like the blink of an eye. And I can't speak for everybody else, but my anguish lasted close to 5 years. So it's a blink of an eye, dear Jamie, and I hope and pray that this didn't affect your sense of who you are as a woman and who you are as a mother. Because what children need most is love and compassion and understanding. Yeah, they need to be fed, they need to be nursed, they need to be changed and bathed and dressed and all that stuff. But, the worst of parents do that. The best of parents are patient with their children, listen, hold them physically and emotionally. I found that myself as a father, Jamie, that, I didn't think I could be a good dad. I thought I was not a good father, and I thought that for a long time. And then, I grew to realize I'm doing with my kids what a lot of other fathers don't do or don't have time to do. I listen. I listened to their stories. I sat with them and really listened to how their days were and what was on their mind. And to this day, they're grateful for that. So I'm sorry. You said you were. You said you were still having a very hard time with that, and I am so sorry that you are. I wonder if you're surrounded with kindred spirits, and what does your heart need? This is painful, and there's no way to avoid the pain, but we need to be held. And I hope you've got friends and family who love you, who are near you. I sure hope that. And if not, let's find a plan B for you. But that is my most fervent belief, is that, if it starts off with love and holding and patience, we grow on our own. We grow on our own. I'm so sorry, Jamie, that you're in so much pain right now. And I sure wish I had something that could take it away for you. I guess for all of us. So we've got Daniel, who asks, would a transition be considered a singular event, moment in time, or a series of events in time? Or do you believe one event can trigger a multitude of transitions? Well, I mean, I don't know how many of us have PTSD, but, there you go for the trigger. Some event. I mean, every time I go near, my accident was caused by an 18-wheel truck, and I can't. Anytime I go near them, I freeze up in the van. I don't like to be within 200-300 yards of them. So yeah, and you ask if it's a singular event. Sure, it is. It's a moment of time, and it can be a series of events. And it's funny. Pain and grief can trigger pain and grief. But when we have a joyful transition, it rarely triggers joy. And unfortunately, that's the way our brains are wired. And Daniel, I'd love to hear any transitions you're going through or if you were going through, and what you believe would be helpful for you. So, we've got Amin here. He writes, my name is Amin. I'm from Karachi in Pakistan. This thing is cutting off. 2007 fall off a wall happened to me when I was 9 years old. I'm 18 years old, and I am a patient with spinal cord injury. My level of injury is T11, T12, L1. He says, unfortunately, my treatment is not possible here, and I am a very poor boy. I cannot afford my treatment. Please, can you be something? Help me. I have 2 bed sores on my back. I hope you understand my condition. Thank you. So, Julie.
Yep, and I typed it back to him that we have paralysis information specialists. They're live people that to help you with resources or to get you in touch with proper resources, and that you can visit our website, christopherreeve.org, and click on Ask Us Anything at the top. This is free of charge, so I encourage you to take advantage of that to get the information on the resources that you need.
Yeah, and that number might be difficult for Amin because of distance and time.
Oh, right, the international. I'll pull up the international phone number as well. Okay. Thank you, Amin.
Thank you, Amin. My heart goes out to you. Julie, I get, and everybody else, I get heartbroken. I get angry at the injustice, of what goes on around the world. It just, let me continue to scroll down. And listen, you guys, nobody's calling in, and I'm getting lonely here. And Julie's worst fear is going to come true, and I'm just going to torment her with probing questions about her life.
I did put the phone number in the chat box as well, so please, if you get a chance, dial in, or if you're already on the call, press *1, and the operator will put you through.
I got a text from Well, from Tim Lubin, who made a mistake with his name. But Tim, I don't remember seeing your original text here, your original chat.
Yeah, unless he answered a question. Because there's 4 people that answered your poll question.
All right, let's see. So one person said, I got injured 6 years ago. I feel as though I am still trying to figure out who I am. I spent a long time with that question, trying to figure out who I am. After my accident, I would say, half jokingly, I'm a married father, psychologist, quadriplegic. So it's like all of those things modified quadriplegic. So I'm primarily a quadriplegic who is all of these other things. And that's how I experienced my identity back then. And over the years, it shifted. I considered myself, father, grandfather, radio host, all that stuff. But now, after all these years, my identity is clear to me. I am Dan. I've got this heart and soul that we all have, that there's something deep inside of me that is quiet and still and loving and spacious. Some people, if it's external, some people might call it God or another higher power or even an inner power. But it's something inside, and I think it's in all of our hard wiring. It's quiet and still, that has been with us since we were born. So who am I? I'm Dan, and that's what's underneath everything. I'm Dan. I'm also, a psychologist and all those other things. Father, grandfather. I'm all those other things. But, and now I've got a new identity. I'm an old guy. But underneath all of it, I am who I am. I'm just Dan. In a way, I am who I've always been, and I'm different. Who am I? I'm a good guy. I'm loving. I can annoy the living crap out of people. If somebody hurts one of my children or somebody I love, I'm going to be vicious and angry, and I don't care. So, who am I? I'm a guy with lots of emotions, some good thoughts, some bad ones. I am me. I am just another human, and I am quite comfortable with that. Thank you. I would like to hear others' thoughts about that, about identity and what's yours and how has it changed over the years. Let me see others. I'm scrolling down. Be patient with me. My pinky knuckles sometimes works better than others. I'm getting there. So Tim says, that was me. Oh, about the 6-year question. Tell me about, Tim, tell me about what you need, what your body, heart needs to get you through this transition. we all know deep down inside what we need, what we want, what would be helpful. So I'd like to hear from you first. Tell me what you need. Or, I also say this to many of my patients, Tim, when they come in, the question in my mind is the question any good pediatrician has. Tell me where it hurts. Tell me where the pain is. Not why, but where it is, how it feels, how you experience it. I want to know where it hurts. So we're getting cut off. Tim said, I've been married 29 years. My wife has really helped, and I'm not getting the rest. So please continue, Tim. Stick with us and finish that sentence. Here we go. I have always been so active, but now I feel all I do is sit. 6 years. All you do is sit. Well, like I said about my identity, Tim, you do sit, but that's not your identity either. That's not all you do. You do lots of things. You think, you feel, you fear, you love, you care, you worry. You do lots of things. And I want to tell you something. You said that you've been so active, and now all you do is sit. That's excruciatingly painful for you, for all of us. And there are people with more creative minds than I that could address the issue of activity. But I'll tell you this. First, you cry. First, you cry. When someone or something you love has been pulled from our grasp, first you cry. And you cry as long as you need to. You keep crying. And then there's a certain point where we all say, not in these words, but we all say, okay, what now? What now? I'm here in the wheelchair. I've got a life ahead of me. What now? What am I going to do? Tim, I want to tell you a story I might have told what changed my life. But I was in ICU, and after the accident, and, I had a halo vest and catheters and IVs. And, all I wanted, I didn't want to live with this. So a nurse approaches me in ICU and asked if she could talk to me. So, she pulled up a chair, she talked to me. She told me about her life, and she was suffering terribly. And I listened. I listened with great compassion, and I didn't care about me for that moment. I only cared about her. And then when we were done, she thanked me for my kindness and said it was helpful, and she left. And I closed my eyes, and I said, I can live with this, knowing that despite everything, I had the wherewithal to help another human being, changed my life. And, man, I've been doing it ever since. So while I was blathering here, Tim said, I really agree with what you're saying. Things have changed job-wise. I sold software for 25 years, and now I teach at college for 4 years. And then Tim says, I totally get the crying thing. Or Tim, I had a patient a couple of weeks ago, and he's a guy that grew up in a very rigid, rule-bound family. He always felt he was different and was ashamed of that. When he began to develop a sexual feelings, he found himself attracted to men, so he felt even more shamed and more different. When he was in 6th grade, the whole class gathered and ridiculed him. So this is a man that has been so buttoned up and so covered over to protect himself. So a couple of weeks ago, when we'd been working for a while and we've got a good relationship and it's safe. So a couple of weeks ago, I just said these words. None of this stuff is your fault. None of it. It's genetics. It's circumstance. None of this stuff is your fault. And Tim, this man sobbed like a baby. And he just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Almost the whole session. It's been in there all these years. I've done that in the last 5 years. Sobbed like that. And you know what? We found? I did a show on tears, and the chemical makeup of tears has cortisol in it. It has the stress hormone in it, which is like amazing. So you actually are getting rid of stress when you cry. And so Jamie says, how long does the crying stage last? So Jamie, your job is to take loving care of your heart, your body, and your brain. So if you need to cry, you cry as long as you need to. I was always afraid to cry early on. I don't think I'm the only one, but I was afraid to cry for fear that if I started crying, I would never stop. And then I cried, and cried, and cried, and cried. And it felt like such a relief. So, let your body, heart, mind cry as long as it needs to. It's an act of kindness to yourself. So we've got Randall Wright, who says, yes, you sit and cry and cry. Does it ever end? I used to be a musician and can't play my guitar every day anymore. I pray to die every day. And Randall says, it's been over 2 years. So, Randall, I said earlier that 2 years is like a blink of an eye. You cry, and it ends when it ends. But this has been such a major loss in your life, such a major loss in your life, that your brain, body, is not adapting to it so fast. So rest. Don't fight anything, because rest and patience is the birthplace of creativity. Don't try to do what you had yesterday. And stop railing at the gods. Cry, mourn as long as you need to. Then you'll be able to reinvent your life. Music, if that's your life, there's lots of ways to do music. But you might, at this point in your life, want something else for your life. But now, it's mourning. And, I would challenge something you said. Is it that you want to die, or is it that you don't want to live with what you have? And underneath all of that is an emotion. I don't know what the emotion is, but it's the emotion that's intolerable. Whether it's fear, shame, rage, whatever it is, there's an emotion underneath all of those thoughts. And if you can capture that emotion and find a way to bear it, you'll find a way to live. I told my wife that after my accident, I said I would give it 5 years. And then at the end of 5 years, if it was unbearable, I would take my life. It was 5 years. So I sat there by myself, with myself. And I had a conversation with, I don't know, my inner truth, my higher power, inner power, I don't know. But I said, okay. I said, I'll live with this, but promise me one day I'll walk. Of course, the voice back I heard said, no deal. Live or die. Choose one. And then I said, okay, but promise me that I won't always be so sick. Because I've been in and out of the hospital a lot. No deal. Live or die. And everything I asked for, the message came back saying, this is your life. And I chose life, obviously, because I didn't want to leave this life. I love being alive. I love having a life. It's not always good. There's long periods of time when it's just crap. But this life is precious. Having a life is precious. So, I would encourage you to find a way to live for several more years and see what happens. See what unfolds for you. See if you can find love in your life and kindness, and then find a way for whatever's inside to come out. Because there's something beautiful in there, right? You're in the middle of mourning now. You're not going to be able to see it. So that's what I would ask. And I've got a lot of people come to my office, newly injured, and they want to die also. And my message is, if you want to die, if this is too much for you, you'll have my respect if you choose to do it. But wait a few years and make it a logical decision and not an emotional one. You're in the middle of grief, my friends. So you're in the middle of grief. So I wish you peace, man. I wish you great peace, moment by moment. And Boy, I hope you've got love in your life. I sure do. Hope you have love in your life. Julie, those discussions are painful because, Jamie, Randall, reminds us all of how painful this is in the early stages, how terribly, terribly painful it is. Beyond words. Beyond words. I don't think I still have words to describe that pain. And somehow here we are.
Yeah, I don't know if you read Danielle's comment, but I like his comment that he left for you.
Let me come up. Here. One of the most profound transitions in my life has been the sudden shift from devastation from a cervical spinal cord damage to a positive. Namely, I chose to view my SCI as the universe forcing me to shift my thinking out of my comfort zone. I still face many obstacles, but viewing them as a potential launching pad to bettering myself, and by proxy, bettering those around me. Well, that's great. I wonder, what is it about you? How did you make that transition, and how long did it take? I am endlessly curious about this. And by the way, is it Daniel or Danielle? Okay. And Amin says thank you for the help. And Randall says, nice to hear someone who understands my pain. Brain aneurysm, paralyzed left side, burden on my wife and son. Yeah, that's what I thought initially too. And you know what? Part of the time I was a burden. But what made it most difficult for them was my depression, my anger, my bitterness. The physical stuff wasn't that much of a problem, but it's my bitterness and the fact, and this is important, I wasn't able to love them properly. I wasn't able to feel love for them because of all my pain and because, I was so focused on myself and my suffering, and I didn't love them properly, or deeply, or the way I did. And damn it, that I had the potential to do. So, I did my best, certainly with my two daughters. I loved them dearly. They helped me get out of my head. My wife, we had difficulties in our marriage before the accident. And God knows, a devastating accident doesn't help the marriage that's already in trouble. So that it didn't last, unfortunately. But, sometimes you're going to be a burden. I mean, the biggest burden I was to them was, being a pain in the ass sometimes. But you can give them what all humans need. We all need compassion and love. That's the most important thing. So, your body is going to make it more difficult for them, but you've got a lot to give them in return. Pretty much everything. And my experience is the more people you love, the better you love, the happier you will be. So, in the long run, whatever you do, in the short run, you can cultivate your ability to love, at the very least, your family. Love them with an open heart, the way love really is. The way love really is. I hope it was helpful, Randall. I really do. I feel like you're a kindred spirit to all of us. So let me.
You have an audio question from the line of Margaret Bassick.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I didn't catch your name.
What's your
my
first
name?
name?
My first name is Marge.
Hi, Marge.
Hi, Marge.
Yeah, and I'm listening. Well, I've listened to you many times before. I'm not a very good public speaker, so I've been one of the silent ones. But I am a quadriplegic secondary to an accident 10 years ago. And I have a C5, C6 level. Listening to you with my husband of 46 years, Bill, and we hit the 70 mark a couple of years ago. And I don't know what I can contribute to the discussion for other people, but for one thing, I always admired how you continued your calling. I was a pediatrician for 35 years when my accident happened, and I think I couldn't practice because of physical limitations, but I probably could have shared my expertise through some contact with mothers and parents. But I found that I was using all my energy, and this is probably very selfish, to deal with what the other changes in my life. And I am a mother of 2 young adults, and my main concern was burdening my family, not so much physically, but the loss of, what I had been to them. But luckily, they have been very supportive, and we're making that transition. I am, and my husband, as to how to continue to help them.
Could you repeat that? Your husband is too what?
I'm sorry. No, that as a mother and a wife, I have had to make that transition in, with my disability. Also, we had hoped. My husband is a physician, and we worked long hours for many years, and look forward to retirement, and that was a loss.
So this sounds like a transition for the whole family.
Oh, yeah.
And if I am hearing your primary worry, it's about being a burden.
Or maybe not that so much, because luckily I do have insurance that allows me to have leads. It's just more that I couldn't give to them in a way that I did before, because I had my own baggage to deal with. And for example, my daughter had a baby 2.5 years ago, and the mother rushing to her side, helping her with that transition in her life.
I'm going to have to interrupt you. I hate doing this to you, but we're a little short on time, and I'd like to share my thoughts and feelings as I listen to you. I get it. I'm hearing sadness and frustration and just a great sense of loss that you're not able to do what you want to do, live the way you want to live. There's something about us, this as a physician. We have this life force inside of us and all of nature. We, something that propels us to live, to heal. It's the same thing as the body. The mind is the same way, and you know this. The body heals itself 99% of the time. And the mind does too, if you just allow it. So that's why I said, I talked to, all my friends that were in the chat box. Just allow it. Cry when you need to cry. Rail at the gods when you need to do that. Do self-pity. Do sadness. Feel what you feel. And your broken heart, watch. It'll heal. 99% of the time, it'll heal. So I got my eye on the clock, and it looks like I'm going to have to thank you finally for calling in. Please make a habit out of it. Call in next month too, okay?
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. And
Thank you.
I think this is, Daniel tells me that it's a Daniel and not a Danielle. So here we are, Julie. It turned out to be a very interesting and enlightening day today. Your thoughts? Julie?
I am here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was reading questions. There's still more questions coming in. So I totally missed what you said. I apologize.
Yeah.
Everybody was so wonderful today, and they're following up on everything you've talked about. And I'm so taken by everybody's emotion, and I get it. I get it too.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody who is here with us today, and I look forward to next month.
Please, sign up to register for next month's web chat with Dr. Dan, and if you can, please get on the phone, and we'd love to hear your voice. as well. But the questions and all your comments in the chat box have just been outstanding. Thank you so much for contributing to this conversation. I appreciate it. And hopefully we will see you on the web chat next month. So thank you all for joining us today, and have a great day.